Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome back. It's time again for another edition of our weekly member spotlight. Very excited to be here today with one of our very own from the GCNKAA. But before we get started, I wanted to make mention again, our business exchange event is coming up on August 13th at the Oasis Conference Center. We have had a rash of registrations over the last couple of weeks, but we still have plenty of room. We'd like to get as many of our associate and primary members registered as possible. So if you've not yet taken time to do that, please reach out to Michelle or Nancy at the GCNKAA and we will get you set up for that. All right, without further ado, we're going to dive right in, and I'm very excited to be here with our newest GCNKAA associate, Mr. Chris Griffin. Thank you very much. You're kind of saving the day. So it randomly happens. Sometimes people have to reschedule or cancel. We had an appointment on the books for today for months, and then on Tuesday walked into a meeting and said, hey Chris, how do you feel about being our feature this week? And he said, whatever you need. So thank you very much.
You are very welcome. And hello everybody.
I think this might be the most informative one that we've had because you are truly one of our newest members, period.
Yeah.
So people, I'm sure, are anxious to get to know you. Can I just ask you to maybe take a moment, introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, what you do?
Of course. Well, my name is Chris Griffin. I am the finance coordinator for the Apartment Association. I've been with the association for 4 months. I've been in the industry for 3 years. Mostly on the freelance side, and then I ended up working for PLK Communities,
right,
which was an amazing experience. I learned a lot as a leasing agent to an assistant manager to a manager, so it was a mind-blowing experience, and it's great.
How did you make the leap from on-site to the association office?
Well, I have my degrees, and I have my bachelor's degree in accounting. I have my master's in finance, and it was just time to grow. You know, and you always have to try and see if maybe some room here for me. But if it's not, you just have to take the best decision, best option for you.
Right.
So that's how I ended here at the Apartment Association.
So what do you like about being on this side of the business versus being on site, or vice versa?
Well, on this side, what I do like is, not getting yelled at. No, I'm joking. I love people. But the one thing I do like about being on this side is I get to see how everything operates behind the scenes.
Sure.
It's like in film, it's like everybody gets to see all the glitz and glam, but when you see how everything works behind the scenes and all the moving components, it really makes you appreciate this industry so much more.
Right. Well, really I'm going to just jump right into a little personal, but you mentioned as we were getting to know each other that you've done performing in your background, so this is probably like being on the stagehand side of things versus being the performer.
It is.
And you like that?
I do. It's a little, change of pace.
Right.
But, as I, being in the industry and just working, on the other end, again, you always want to know how does it work behind the scenes.
Right.
And I ended up liking it more.
Right.
It's just, it's quiet. It's quiet. It's more quiet than people think it is.
Right.
So, you get to learn a lot.
And I heard you say you're a numbers guy. So
I am a numbers guy.
Like all the business end of it?
Yes. It's when I look at, people, being in accounting, typically they think we're just like, born being accountants and that's all we do. But for me, when I look at numbers or I just see all these budgets and all of this stuff, and it's like majority of people, it blow up, but I'm like, hey, this is like a puzzle, this is really cool. If you see how this, okay, if we do this and that, it's like, it's a perfect picture.
Right.
So that's how I look at numbers.
What's been your favorite part of the association so far? An event or, the people with what so far has been the most rewarding?
Well, I would have to say, one, I have an amazing staff. I really do. I mean, everyone that they just kind of embrace me with open arms and just, show me the ropes around the office, and I've always felt comfortable. And I can say honestly, in my entire career, this is the first time I can say like I walked into something, just felt comfortable as soon as I got there.
Okay.
Another thing I love about working for the Apartment Association is the networking events, because there are so many different vendors and so many different associates that you get to meet them, and it's like, oh, I do this, and then you meet somebody that maybe they do carpet, and this person they're doing lights, and it's so many different pieces that come together at these events. I just love being a part of it.
Good. Have you got our acronym down yet? I noticed you said Apartment Association instead of
GCNKAA.
There you go. That's good. It's a mouthful, but well, having been in the industry for the last several years, what's one of the most memorable stories that you have?
Well, one of the most would be when I was working I was actually an assistant manager at this time in Northgate Meadows. Okay.
Yeah.
We had this, prospect, and her life, everything went bad for her. I mean, she lost her family, she lost her home. It was just a very tragic situation, and we were, fortunate enough to have an apartment that was perfect for her. To us, we're always like, oh, we see all the flaw in this business. Like, okay, I see this is a little, but she loved this apartment. It was perfect for her, the size, the location. And she was so overwhelmed with emotion, she actually jumped and hugged me. I was like, oh! So, kind of caught me off guard. But to have that moment and to always be able to hold on to that was just, that makes it worth it.
It really does. That's one of my most memorable stories is being able to help someone who had lost their husband and needed to find an apartment. And it really does give you this sense of pride because we deal with a lot of problems. And when you're able to solve a problem for a person, it's what's more important than where you live, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly. That's why we're in the business.
That's right. Well, you're a relatively young guy and fresh in the industry still. I'd call 3 years fresh. But I'm sure you've learned your fair share of lessons and you have your perspective to share. What's some advice that you would offer the next generation or the current generation of apartment professionals?
Well, the biggest thing would be, take advantage of the education programs that that's presented by the GCNKAA. Your credentials are everything. Right. They follow you no matter what. If you're in Cincinnati or if you're in Hawaii,
right?
They follow you everywhere you go. So if you have the opportunity to get the credentials, get the credentials.
Right.
Also, for all of my managers and leasing consultants out there, appreciate your maintenance team.
Right.
Just if you never stop and say, hey, whoever, thank you. Because these guys put in a lot of work. I mean, they have saved my life so many times when I was on the other side. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
And it gets testy because we need things done. Yeah. But they understand that because, again, when you're working as a team, that's what it's all about, is getting the best results.
That is a really great advice. I'm so glad you brought that up because I think our folks on the front line, namely our maintenance teams, they're not as appreciated as they could be and often should be. And especially, last week when it was sweltering heat emergencies and crazy. Can you imagine having to be out in that literally the whole day and how many air conditioning calls and all of the hard work? And they are often the unsung heroes.
They really
We get
are.
to be on stage sometimes during the performance and getting the accolades, but they're making sure everything's working. So that's really great advice. Thank you for that. So if you don't mind, let's dive in and get to know who you are a little bit more on a personal level.
That's no problem.
All right. Well, what do you do in your pastime? Some of your hobbies?
Well, some of my hobbies. One of the biggest ones, I just picked this up, is axe throwing.
Oh, wow.
It is I did not think that it would be something that I would enjoy, but I really do. I mean, it's like an amazing stress reliever.
Isn't it?
It really is.
I've only done it once, but I couldn't believe how amazing it felt to hurl some axe at. Where did you go? What place did you go?
I actually went to the Omniplex in Fairfield.
Okay.
But there are so many. I mean, next I want to go to Urban Axis in downtown Cincinnati. That's probably going to be my next step.
There's one in Covington. I think it's Flying Axes, and it's next to a funeral home. And I was like, have you had to take anyone over there yet? And they're like, no, this is very safe. It doesn't sound safe, but it's very safe.
It is. It's very controlled.
Right.
It does sound a little crazy. You're throwing axes of all different shapes and sizes.
Right.
But again, there is a nice cage. You have your lane. It's kind of like bowling, just with axes.
Right. Are you good at it?
I'm amazing at it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I am really good at it. And that was the surprising thing.
Right.
Like,
consistently good.
Oh, yeah, consistently. Okay.
That's
First time.
Funny.
Bullseye.
Really?
So,
wow, look at you.
Hey.
You know, it's funny because I wore open-toed shoes when I went, and they gave me Crocs. I'm like, this is like bowling, and that's disgusting. I didn't have socks or anything on, but that's funny that you mentioned that. They're popping up everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
What else? Anything else in your pastime? I know you have a whole nother career outside of the association. Tell us a little bit about that.
I actually am the founder of HTJ Media. We are a media group where, we put together content for our customers and our clients. But we're not limited to just, I want to put up an Instagram video. We do film, we do commercial, we do these videos that we're watching now.
Right.
So it's been a journey. It's something that I've literally pulled out of the sky. I've always, maybe I'll look into it and just kind of see if this is something I would like to do for the long haul. But I've really, it's kind of like a fish to water.
Right.
It's become second nature to me. So I'm
Well,
just
that's interesting.
very happy to be a part of it.
Well, everything is digital and online now. I mean, even the way people advertise, there's so little beyond websites and videos and social media platforms, obviously.
Yes. And, one thing that me and my partner, we take pride in is it's just customer service.
Right.
Even though it's digital marketing and, customer service is everything.
Right.
People still want to be able to interact with people.
Right.
So if you're just the type of person where it's like, okay, here's everything, just call me when you need to, pay the check.
Right.
I don't know. That's not what I want.
Right.
Like, I want to be able to interact with you, know that you're talking to a person, a real person,
Right.
real personality, and I want to give you the best product that I can offer.
Well, that's really interesting. And I want to say thank you because between Michelle and Chris, y'all have been our videographers and staging folks, and you've gone out and met us on site to do some of the videos. And so I know Michelle's probably relieved because she's been the one behind the camera for so long, but since Chris came along, we've had an extra set of hands, and we're refining this whole process. So
teamwork makes the dream work.
Thank you for that. And I know you've joined the social media committee too, so that's fantastic, and appreciate all the contributions that you've made so far. It helps to have an expert on those kinds of committees. So
I'm a forever student.
Right.
I'm getting there to expert
you go.
level, but I'm a forever student.
I like that perspective and that attitude, a forever student. Well, speaking of being a student, let's talk about books. Have you read any great books lately?
Well, the latest book, the last book I can honestly say that I read was Pop Goes the Weasel by James Patterson. That book is a part of the entire Alex Cross series.
Right.
I'm a huge murder, mystery, crime, fanatic, when it comes to film, book,
right.
Anything is just amazing. So,
we were talking earlier about that, and you mentioned the movie Kiss the Girl, and is it girl or girls?
It's Kiss the Girls.
Girls,
yes.
with an S.
Yep.
I was telling my niece about Double Jeopardy with Ashley Judd, and when you said that, I'm like, I have to tell her to go watch that movie because that is equally fantastic.
Yes, they are amazing movies, and it's funny because that's what led me to the books. I saw Kiss the Girls, and then Along Came a Spider, and they're a part of the series. So I was like, hey, let me see what this is about, because as we all know with film, the adaptation is never as good as the book.
Rarely.
So,
Very
rarely.
Yep.
But
when it is, though, isn't it like magic? You're like, that's everything I needed it to be.
It is amazing.
So, what about food or restaurants? What's one of your local favorites?
Well, local favorites, I will have to say BJ's.
Because of the desserts? Or
yes. The desserts.
Right.
And they have one of my favorite, they have these avocado egg rolls. And they are just, I can eat those.
I took a client to lunch there last Friday, and I hadn't been in years, and I was fascinated. The little cookie dessert things they had. I didn't care about the food, but they got the avocado egg rolls and loved them.
And also I love to cook. I must say I'm pretty decent in the kitchen. So, I make sure that my biggest thing is like chilies or any type of stew or gumbos. But, I can make.
What do you do special to your chili? You made mention of that.
I can't tell my secrets, but.
That's one of the 5 things that I actually can make.
Oh.
So we'll have to compare recipes.
Okay.
I'm not good in that department at all, but I can make a bean chili. That's one of my few.
We'll see that chili cook-off. She said
there
it.
There you go. Hey, you know what? That's a really great resident event. We have had that at a couple of communities where they have residents bring in the chilies, and then you provide, like, as the management office, a little toppings bar, and then there's a taste test, and it's a really great resident event.
You'd be amazed.
Free idea as a part of the weekly member spotlight. Well, let's talk about TV and movies. What's some of your favorite things to watch?
Let's see. As far as movies go, I'm a huge fan of the entire Marvel universe. I've watched everything from literally every movie, including Blade.
Yeah.
So it's like all of the Marvel movies, all of the shows that came out on Netflix were amazing. But as far as my favorite show right now would be Mad Men.
When you wrote that, I was so excited to talk to you. So what do you like about it, and where are you like watching it at what point in the season?
I am only in season 3. I know,
so
I know.
It's so good.
I know everybody's films. It took me so long to watch it, not because of the content, mostly because it does start a little slow at first for some.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. If I can binge watch everything else, I feel like if I can watch Game of Thrones for 8 or 9 seasons, I can watch Mad Men.
Right.
So, but what I really do like about it is being able to see the transition in the industry, in marketing and in sales and advertising. I mean, I am relatively, not too young, but I'm not too old.
Right.
But I do remember being a kid and watching TV and seeing, like, always wondering, like, how did they promote this to us? And it's like, why do I want this brand new Ninja Turtle toy, this new Transformer or something? It's like, how do they know how to market this directly to us and advertising and everything? How do they know throw this in? And you watch Mad Men and you learn.
And what is so fascinating about it too, beyond just that, I think I could talk for days about the show. And I told you I just watched the finale last night, which is so funny. But how they take real products like Heinz ketchup and the Polaroid and like different Coca-Cola, all of those products, and you get to see how they came up with advertising campaigns that we know of or that we saw. And it is fascinating. And I love to tell industry friends about it, since so much of what we do is marketing and branding and kind of establishing your own personality as a company or a property. So this is not a commercial for Mad Men, but it is fantastic. And I want to hear as you go along, like, please let me know your favorite episodes and we'll download. All right, well, what about pets? Do you have any pets, Chris?
I do. I have an amazing, short-haired cat. His name is Domino. We call him Dom for short.
Yeah.
He is my best friend.
Yeah.
He's actually a rescue. We rescued him. He was under, we found a litter of cats under my property in Northgate Meadows.
Right.
And I mean, it had to be at least like 12 cats.
Oh gosh.
And we just had
little
there were kittens. Yeah, they were tiny, and we heard them, just meowing. I'm like, so I tried to take 2. One didn't take to me too well, but Domino did. He stayed on my shoulder, and he's been there ever since. So
how old is he now?
He would have to be 3 now.
Yeah.
3, and he's just, he thinks he's a dog.
Yeah.
I really think, hybrid dog and human, because like when I'm eating, he wants to eat. When I'm going somewhere, he's like, what you doing? Why am I not going with you? You have to stay in my house.
I don't know. There are cat leashes now. There are all kinds of little cat carriers. I've seen people wearing their cat.
That's
a little much.
It's a bit much. I just don't think that's a good idea. It's still a cat, gotta let it just be a cat.
If it thinks it's a dog, I don't know. All right, well, I love asking this question, and since I can tell you're an animal lover, if you were an animal, what would you be and why?
I would be a panda bear.
A panda bear.
Yes, a panda bear. One, because it represents balance, just with the black and the white, and I'm very spiritual person, and I believe in the good and the bad and everything needing balance. So whenever I see the panda bear, that's exactly what I think of, because he's just peaceful. He just likes to eat bamboo and walk around and be a big old fun bear. But he's still a bear.
Right.
So you don't want to test a bear.
You don't poke the bear, right?
You don't poke the bear. He still has claws. He can climb a tree. He can run on his hind legs.
You let the bear be a bear.
Just let the bear be a bear.
And watch him enjoy.
Watch him enjoy.
That's funny. Well, what about sports? Are you a sports fan at all?
I am a sports fan. I love all sports. I actually played basketball and football and baseball and ran track.
Oh wow!
So I've done all of that.
What were you the best at?
I was the best at track.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my sport. I have family members that went to the Olympics.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So running was a big thing, but I would have to say basketball.
Yeah. You like watching basketball?
I love watching basketball. I don't play as much as I used to. Oh, Lakers. Lakers all. And that's strange. I know a lot of people don't like the Lakers, but I've always been a Lakers fan.
How did you become a Lakers fan? Because you're not from Cincinnati.
I am not
you are
from Cincinnati. I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
And not the Pistons?
I love the Bad Boys Pistons of old when they won their championships with Dennis Rodman and Isaiah and Joe Dumars and all those guys. But I mean, come on, you had Magic Johnson, you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worth. It just has a history that goes along with that name that is just.
I don't know if I've ever met a Lakers fan
really?
In Ohio. No, not at all.
Well, now I have a target.
There you go. Well, maybe no one will even mention it because everyone's like, the Lakers? How do you like the Lakers? Just kidding.
And then, come on, we have LeBron now. And I'm just,
We don't speak of LeBron
in
this state. Just kidding. No, he's a great person. And we have a lot of properties in Cleveland and Cleveland Forever fans. So. Now they're forever fans. Well, we talked a little bit about you actually have been a musician your whole life and play different instruments and whatnot.
Yes, I do.
Feel free to share a little bit about that and then tell us about one of the best concerts that you've been to.
Well, I've been singing my whole life. I was raised in the church. I was raised Christian Methodist Episcopal, so we sung all the time. We did a lot of that. I was in the choir. And then as I got older, I got in Glee Club, and I did the whole motion. I even was, in the singing group. I hope that video never shows. I was good, and my group was good, but I hope not. But
we'll share a link in the post later.
but now I do. I was self-taught. I learned how to play the guitar, piano, and any string instrument. Not violin. I'm not going to disrespect the violin, but when it comes to bass and guitar, electric guitar, I'm pretty decent, and then of course with piano, and as far as one of the best concerts I went to, again being from Detroit, I literally can walk into any venue or any small poetry spot and you will find an amazing concert from just local talent. One that I can remember, me and my business partner, hosted a venue in it was Royal Oak. Okay. And her name was Danny Cassettes. And she was amazing.
She used to work for Village Green.
Really?
She did, and she won a Village Green Idol competition one year. I think my very first year. Oh my gosh, it is a small world. We have to talk after this.
We do.
She did.
We do. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's
I remember her name. I never even really knew her, but I remember her name, and she could sing nothing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
She sang a Beatles song too. And we were just talking about the Beatles in here. Oh my goodness. Sorry.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. Small world.
Okay, so when we go have a karaoke showdown, what's your song of choice?
My song of choice, oh goodness, it's so many.
I've got some Aretha in my repertoire, so just be prepared.
If you're going to go Aretha, then I would have to go Anita Baker, because why not?
Right.
We're keeping the Detroit thing.
That's so funny. Oh my God, now we have to do that, and we have to talk about beauty. That is so crazy. All right, well, share an interesting detail. We've learned so many so far, but is there any other interesting detail about yourself that you'd like to share?
Well, one, I love to wear fun socks. I am that guy.
I see that.
I don't know if anybody can see them. They're not too fancy, but usually I have cherries and all types of strange things on them. So I like to wear fun socks. And a really nice fun fact about me is I am third generation Native American.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Which tribe do you?
I would say it's Cherokee, and it's a blend. My grandmother was full Native American.
That's interesting.
So it's a lot of different stories as to what tribe we came from, but yeah.
And when you mentioned spirituality, I heard you say you've got some probably more mainline religion too, but is that historical part of your background in your spirituality?
It is. It keeps me balanced. It keeps me in tune with nature and animals, as you can see. I love all animals. Of course, I have a cat. But I literally any animal can come up to me and they just, hey, I'm like, hi. So, it's kind of strange.
When you sing, do they flock to you?
They do. My cat, Domino, he's kind of judgmental, so he'll just look, just sit there you can't do better than that, but most animals.
Cats are good at judgment.
They are.
Yes.
They are. So, He's a great kid.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Chris, it has been so fantastic getting to know you. I'm so glad we had to do this early. We had you booked for September, but this was absolutely right on time. So thank you.
Everything happens for a reason.
It does. Thank you for saving the day. Thank you for being so open. Is there anything else? I always want to check because sometimes I overlook questions, but is there anything else that you want to share about yourself or just about your experience with us so far?
Well, I will share this with everyone out there. If you are a part of the GCNKAA, come out to the events.
Mm-hmm.
Come meet me. Come meet Melissa. Come meet the team. I mean, I was, as weird as it seems, as much as I do, you're out there, you're doing film and music and all that stuff, you get a little, you kind of clam up a little bit. It's like when you're in public places, you're a little anxious and you're like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Right.
Come out, have a good time, and just network. That's the biggest thing I have to tell everybody.
I'm glad you said that, because part of the reason that we even started this initiative in getting to know one another is so it makes it easier, because now someone that's watching this might also like Mad Men, and it would be a really easy icebreaker to start a conversation. What episode did you like, at the most current season of Mad Men? And that kind of just information about folks makes it easier to network and talk to one another. So very sage advice. Thank you. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week for another edition of the Weekly Member Spotlight. Thank you.